All right, and welcome to another episode. We got lots of good stuff again this week. A big shout out to everybody who has been watching us. Currently we're really enjoying the camaraderie of everybody getting online and talking to us. So before we get started, Mylinda's going to tell us what's in our cup, and we've got a little different things going on today in our cup. So Mylinda's going to tell you what's in hers, and I'll tell you what's in mine.
Yes. So today we are talking about rosemary. And rosemary is very, very versatile. We use it in our cooking. We use it in all sorts of things, especially around the holidays. It's very, very yummy. Pam, I'm sure you can attest to that.
Well,
And
let me tell you, being Italian, rosemary is kind of like water to us or wine,
yeah,
goes on everything.
I bet. And as always, we like to talk about the medicinal and magical properties of our herbs. So, rosemary has a lot to offer, just like everything we talk about on here. And forgive me, I did not charge my iPad. I feel like I'm going blind, so I will be having to pull my phone up to me today. But for rosemary, there's actually a lot of great health benefits. It can actually help with memory, which I could use. um, so you can use it with aromatherapy. So like smelling it. I like those necklaces that you can have.
With the little disc in them.
I actually got one as a gift, and haha, and it has those. And I think I had peppermint last time I had a headache. But yes, as aromatherapy, the oil can increase memory performance. It's also good for pain relief, so maybe I should do that. Um, Applying a decoction to the temples or simply smelling, the aroma of rosemary has been linked to reducing the severity of migraine symptoms. So I could add that along with peppermint. Antibacterial. So when brewed into a pungent tea, rosemary acts as a fantastic breath freshener. It also helps with digestion. So when with a detoxifying effect on the liver, this woody herb can help pacify an upset stomach. And it also helps with the immune system if you eat it regularly. It can help boost the immune system with its wealth of antioxidants. So just like we were talking about the blueberries and so many other things we were talking about, it's another really great antioxidant. And you can, this particular resource also went into how you can store it. So rosemary can last up to 2 weeks in the fridge when it's loosely wrapped in a damp paper towel. It can also be frozen for up to 6 months or dried. And you talked about before drying. I think you had mentioned usually up to a year. And then after that, you want to use it for magickal.
Rather than that, I have it actually growing in my front yard.
Oh,
Rosemary
nice.
by the front door is for good luck.
Yes.
But it's the smell that I like.
Yes.
When you come to my front door, you smell the rosemary.
Yeah, I've always liked that as well.
I was out picking some today, so I have rosemary all over my hands. So I was like, oh, this is appropriate. We're doing rosemary. Now, with rosemary, I know that they're saying it works on the memory, like 75% improvement after 2 weeks of just sniffing it, not, snorting it. We're not snorting rosemary here, guys. I can see somebody doing that.
I know. I've heard that as well. Now, another tip it gives is to avoid washing it until you're ready to use it because the excess moisture can actually cause it to turn bad more rapidly.
It molds because it's fresh and it'll start to get a mold on it and it'll get like a soury smell. It's
right. Yeah. So be careful of that. Now, this did have some interesting facts with it. So it says in the 16th century, people sometimes burnt rosemary inside as it was thought to disinfect a room.
Well, it's got the antibacterial thing going on there.
Yeah, so maybe they were onto something even back then. I
mean,
mean,
because don't we spray Lysol in a room to get rid of
we
the germs?
It also says, as a symbol of love and fidelity, rosemary is sometimes worn by the bride and groom during a wedding.
Oh,
I know.
that's so sweet.
And then it says, ancient Greeks thought rosemary as a magical plant due to its memory enhancing properties. So that is a great segue into the magical properties of rosemary.
Ooh.
Now, it says the name rosemary derives from the Latin for dew, which is ROS, and sea, which is marinus or dew of the sea. And its habitat, it grows in full sun, well drained, sandy soil. I forgot to mention that earlier. Um, Rosemary is very good for cleansing and protection, invigoration, memory, as we said before, strength, virtue, love, remembrance. And it also says plant rosemary by your door to protect your home. It does say that. And burning rosemary for cleansing and purification. So it goes back to disinfecting the room. And of course, if you think about it back then, of course, people were much more spiritual and superstitious and
Well,
all
too,
of those.
and the rooms didn't have the smells we have today. I mean, it was
Right.
pretty dark and dank, and
Yeah.
not being mean, but it
No,
was.
no, of course. Yeah.
So, the rosemary would just make the room smell. I mean, come on, let's face it. You walk in and you smell rosemary on a side of beef, or you smell it in a spaghetti sauce. You're like, oh yeah, it has that. It's almost a welcoming aroma to it. It like
Well,
brings you in.
exactly. Exactly. Another thing that it mentioned was earlier, I forgot to mention, was it does also help repel insects. Florida people,
Florida
southern,
people.
well, anyone, humid, hot.
Oh my gosh. And the mosquitoes down here almost are big enough to carry me away. So we're not even
Well, you
going to talk
can
about
see
that.
my legs because I sit on my porch all the time. The planet is sun. The element is fire.
Ooh.
Deities are Venus, Mary, and fairies.
Hmm.
Pamela. Um,
And
and
Italians. They got to put Italians in there.
I know, right? It says that Rosemary's magical name is elf leaf. I thought that was interesting.
Hmm. I
Um,
will have to use that today. Elf leaf.
I know. It says it was hung about homes to keep thieves and evil spirits out. Carrying it is believed to ensure success in love and also help retain youthful looks. Um,
Girl, can you buy it by the ton?
I know, right? Can we just get a bale of
Back it up here.
rosemary? You're right. Burning rosemary in a place will help to cleanse the atmosphere of negativity. We all already touched on that. It also was traditionally used in memory spells. We touched on that as well. You can use it in dream pillows to prevent nightmares. So,
Oh.
yeah, where to sharpen memory, especially while studying. Make a simple wash, excuse me. Again, I'm not using my iPad, sorry. Make a simple wash of rosemary and use it to cleanse the hands before working magic. I like that
Like
a
that a
lot.
lot. Hey, you have a sprig of rosemary and some water and just, do the
It's like
ritual
a
cleanse.
blessed.
A
Oh,
ritual cleanse.
I'm going to do that. Oh, I like that. Mm. See,
Ooh,
and this is why I save it until while we record.
I'm going to let you in on a little thing. I'm teaching a class a little bit later for DJ, and I'm actually doing protection herbs, and rosemary's one I'm doing because I went out in my garden and got it. But I didn't know all this other stuff, so she's just filling me in for the next class.
Yeah, so that's rosemary. I wanted to leave it at that.
Oh.
But I
Now,
mean, and it's a very versatile herb.
it really is. Now, with rosemary, if you're going to drink it in a tea, I
Hmm.
prefer it cold with lemon. You
Yes.
sweeten it's a sweet tea thing. So I usually use green tea rosemary, and honey. But if I'm making a pitcher, I use sugar. And then, because I'm from the South, we have to use sugar. That's like a law. So I make my sweet tea. I put my rosemary in it, and I'll put lemon in it, like a slice of lemon or two, because
Right.
the lemon really complements the rosemary, and it's not quite so overwhelming. Because rosemary can knock you down. It, it
Yes.
it's pungent,
And
and
I'm more of a warm tea kind of gal. I mean, unless it's just straight up southern sweet tea, I'll drink that all day.
see,
But as far as the herbal teas, I prefer it warm.
I like my herbal teas cold because the heat, and I'm still adjusting to the heat
Yeah,
down
yeah,
here.
yeah.
And for me, it's extremely hot. So even drinking coffee in the morning is like, oh,
Yeah,
it's that I have to have the caffeine, but I don't know if I can take the heat.
right,
So
yeah.
I found that if I make the magical teas and I cool them down and then
Hmm.
I drink them, I will drink a pitcher of it. So if you're trying to get on a good tea drinking regiment where you're intaking it all the time, if you make a pitcher of the herbal teas, any of the herbal teas we've talked about, and all day long, like for a couple of days, just drink it, you've put all of that into your system that we've just all talked about. Like all this
Exactly.
rosemary would be in your body by now.
Exactly.
And by doing it that way as an iced tea, you do tend to take in more because when you drink a hot tea, you drink that 8 ounces. That's it.
Right, right.
When you do an iced tea, like most people, I fill my glass up with ice, I pour the tea in, and I go back 3 or 4 times to the pitcher to fill my tea back up as I go through the day. So I'm actually intaking a lot more of the tea and of all the spices that are in it and all the
Right.
good stuff. So I find the iced tea a little bit easier for me to take every day rather than making a hot tea every day because I tell you, I just don't keep up with that stuff, but I will keep up with iced tea.
And for me, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be water, tea, soda. It doesn't. I am a slow drinker. It doesn't. I have a hard time. Like it doesn't matter what it is. I'm horrible.
Yeah, I ended up at the doctor with the gout a couple months ago because I was not ingesting enough fluid.
Yeah.
Wasn't what I ate, wasn't anything to do with my lifestyle. It was the fact I wasn't drinking enough fluid. I was barely taking in 20 ounces a day.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was my 12-ounce coffee and maybe a couple of ounces, like maybe a 12-ounce can of water, soda, just 12 ounces after that. That was it.
Right.
And needless to say, I got my butt chewed good for that one.
I'm sure. I know. I need to get it
So,
in.
as trying to ingest more fluids, I have been trying to come up with all of these teas we're doing. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm making iced teas out a lot of them because if I like the taste of it, I will drink it.
But that's awesome though. That's really awesome.
That's the only way I can get all this crap in me.
Hey, you're doing
Like
it.
most people, at my age, we grew up with sugar in everything, white sugar,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it was readily available and it was extremely cheap. So you did Kool-Aids with sugar in them. You did iced tea, of course, with a lot of sugar in it. You put sugar in everything,
Oh,
soda. I mean, your cereals and everything you did.
I don't know about you, but like when I was a kid, and like when your kids were kids, they didn't have all this monk fruit and all this like there.
I lived
Or
in Baltimore.
if
We
there
didn't have
was,
any of
you
that.
didn't hear about it. You didn't. It was not.
We were very much on
Wasn't
what
a thing.
fresh fruits we could get in during the season.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Because I'm a farm shopper because I grew up on a farm. So I would ride out
Marketing.
3 miles from my house are farms in Baltimore. So I would ride out to the farm. I'd get the fresh vegetables, the fresh fruit. I drive another 2 miles down the street to the Richardsons, and that's where I got my eggs. They were farm fresh eggs. I got my
Exactly.
turkeys there. I got my chickens there.
Mhm.
So I'm more of that mind of the fresh stuff. When I moved here, I can tell you I was disappointed. I assumed incorrectly that when I moved to Florida, everything would be fresh. There'd be roadside stands like every mile you'd see a roadside stand.
Oh yeah, no, they're there, but not like
No, there's
that.
more in Baltimore than there are here.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? And I had assumed incorrectly that Of course, the vegetables would be cheaper because you can grow here year round. I
Yeah.
mean, especially on my side, we don't
Right.
really get cold. I mean, we have
Yeah.
a couple days where it might be 40, and that's,
Yeah. It doesn't really, I mean, it really just depends. It really just depends.
but I was surprised by not, the availability wasn't as great as I thought it would be because I'm getting the same vegetables in Walmart here that I got in Walmart in Baltimore.
Right. Yeah.
And they all taste like cardboard because they're not fresh. You know,
Right.
when they come from a farm, you can really taste the difference. So I was a little taken aback by that. But like most people, you're busy, you're running day to day. You're lucky you have time to do anything. That's why when we come up with all this really great stuff and all these great herbs, it's like, okay, how do I make that part of my day?
Right. Right.
And for me, if I make it an iced tea, if I make it cold, I'll drink it all day long. So
Mm-hmm.
it kind of forces me into that issue. And I really do. Whoa,
Live
you got
TV.
dark.
Live TV. My light went out. Okay.
Your light went out. Oh my God. I today we're filming daytime. This is my daytime light. I am like surrounded. Um,
There.
so I'm really lucky. Welcome to daytime.
We had storms all day today, so there's not much daylight.
Yes. We are looking at Fred.
Yeah.
Fred, whoever
And
named him.
I'm on the other side of the state, so unless it goes, "Wah," it's not going to affect
Well,
me.
they're telling us now it's coming up the middle of the Gulf. So it's between
Yeah.
us and Texas now instead of being more on our side. So,
Right. Yeah, unless it goes into the, it's not
right,
coming.
we're good because we were
Yeah.
concerned with tomorrow morning. We are cloudy, which I know it doesn't look like it because I got all this great light, but we are actually overcast today. This is
Yeah,
Florida
we're
overcast.
we're overcast. The sun just popped out for a second, but it's been like storming all since this
Yeah,
very
we've had storms all this week. So hopefully we're all tethered in, but we
yes.
don't promise anything. This is live TV.
Yes. So
It's live TV.
but
So
we do have a good show today because I know
we have
you
a wonderful show. I
yeah.
love this thing. We are going to talk about familiars. And this is my little one today. This is
Mm,
my little familiar today. Um, this is the first time in my long life that I've not had an animal in my house. I'm renting, and they're like, no animals. So I don't even have a goldfish. Um, but I've almost always had an animal at home.
mm,
Growing up on a farm, you'd be surprised what you get as pets. So my children were allowed, within reason, they could bring home almost anything. And we've had everything from lizards to mice to gerbils to dogs, cats, snakes, whatever the children brought home. So we're going to talk about familiars because people don't understand. Back in the day, was considered black cats were witches' cats.
mm.
Black because they were dark, and they are. If you don't have any ambient light, and this thing comes at you and you see two glowing eyes, it's gonna like. Even if it's your own cat, it can like
Right.
startle you. Yes, I walked into the bathroom and like, oh shit, because the cat was sitting on the toilet or something, and I just wasn't expecting it.
Right.
So cats tend to be that. Now, interesting little fact is they started getting rid of a lot of cats during right before the plague, the Black Plague hit. And
Hmm.
because cats eat mice and rats, that's what they're good at. They think that that may have caused the plague to be that much worse because they were killing cats, and
Yeah.
especially black cats. Now, for us witches, a witch's cat is a polydactyl cat, and that's the cat with the extra toes. I had a couple of them. They're absolutely fun. They do pick up stuff. They use their opposing thumbs. And they may have more than one. I had one that had 6 toes and one that had 8,
Oh.
and had the extra toes, all 3 here. And they both could pick up straws and pencils and the long sticks and stuff. They were absolutely
It
adorable.
could have been viral, Pam.
Oh, my cats were cool. They were absolutely.
If you had a cat that could pick up pencils, they could have been viral.
Right now, she could have, both of them could have been. I had 3 sisters. 2 were medium hair, polydactyls, and one was a short hair, normal.
That's
My cats are not normal by any stretch. They were as crazy as their owner. But most people think of a witch's familiar as being a cat because back in the day, most houses, and even now, farmhouses have cats to keep the mice down because you want to keep them out of your grains and out of your fields and wherever else they're going to be.
right.
So that's what cats were used for back in the day. So most people just associate it. But there was another big association that you don't hear as much about, and that was frogs and toads. Witches had frogs and toads as their familiars. Now, my darling children had frogs at one time. There's little tiny painted frogs, I believe they were called, and you had them in an aquarium, and the aquarium lid, of course, somehow magically came off, and we had frogs all over our house. Yeah, I love kids. So, but frogs were a big thing for witches back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to remember, we're going back to the 17 and 1800s where you were more rural. And even if you were living in a town, the town had all kinds of bugs and gross stuff because, open sewage systems and those kinds of wonderful, you never think about that when you think about the Renaissance, you think about the knights and the beautiful dresses, but you don't think about them dropping their toilet out the window every morning because that's what they did. And it would just run down the street.
Mm-hmm.
So, but a lot of familiars, what is a familiar? A familiar is just an animal that you speak with that for some reason you can just attach to, and it can be anything. So sort of like nowadays anything can be what do they call them, a comfort animal,
a support animal. Yeah,
there you go. The woman that had the emu that,
oh my god, there was a video. It was like almost like a cops thing. It was a cop. Of course it's this Florida group. Of course it's Florida. And it was a Florida Facebook group, and it was a cop pulling someone over, and they had this gigantic python in the car. And the cop, it's like this big bald guy, and he looked in the car, and he's like, oh, he's like, what the hell do you have the snake in there? And it's like, it's my support animal. And I was like, oh my god. And all the comments were like, only in Florida, only in freaking Florida.
Okay, somebody tried to claim an emu as their support animal.
I mean, if I could get a koala bear, I feel like a koala bear is my spirit. I mean, it's sleepy, it eats eucalyptus leaves all day, and we know what that does for it. I mean, I feel like, they're cute.
I see you explaining that on the airplane as we speak. The airlines have actually, I got her on that one. The airlines have had to do a ruling because they've had so many
you got me.
off animals that people are bringing on that's saying that's my support animal. The last one was a gerbil, and the sucker got loose. And I forget which airline it was, but the gerbil
I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to judge, but I want to know how a gerbil is this. You know what? I'm not going to judge. I had a gerbil as a kid. I'm not going to judge. One thing I wanted to point out. So, okay, you made a good point. It's like it's a connection. Now, I wanted to point out, because we do have people that we're very close to. We know we have, people that have fur babies, and we're very close with our pets, and they're part of our family. But there's something that separates a pet from a familiar. Now, I wanted to point a few things out, because if you're new to the path, or maybe you're not new and you're just more eclectic, but you're not really like into all the terms. So let's just say you're looking up familiars. Now, I don't know about you, Pam, but I'm not textbook. So I do know about you, but for show's sake. So what my point is, this resource says, familiars are spirit beings that witches make a pact with. These pacts include exchange for offerings, lending of power, protection, and companionship. Familiars are not permanently bound to their witch. You may have many familiars in your lifetime. They could also shapeshift and appear differently throughout their time with their witch. Task they perform: spying, companionship, protection, knowledge, aid, travel between worlds, and assisting a witch developing their abilities. Offering for familiars: energy, a foothold in our realm, spirit, milk, honey, incense, various food items. Now, I saw this in many different resources about them helping you with spell work and rituals and things like that. I agree with that to an extent, and I'm just going to share my experience. So, I have had animals my entire life, my entire life. However, only one animal so far has been a familiar, and his name was Lucky. He died December 13th of 2019. I had him for 13 years. I'm pretty sure he got out of the house. He did get out of the house. I'm pretty sure he got into some sort of poison. But it was heartbreaking. He died in my arms. He died on Friday the 13th. Um,
And he was
and
13.
yeah, and he was 13, yeah. He was a stray. We got him when he was a baby. Um, but we had a connection like no other connection. And he didn't necessarily, I didn't go to him to help me with spells necessarily. I didn't seek him out to help me in ritual or spells or anything like that. But if I was sick, he was right next to me, even if I wasn't sick. And when he was little, like I said, he was almost feral. And he slept on my chest every single night until he was too big. And then he slept next to my head. And he was skittish around everyone else. And we just had that bond. We would be forehead to forehead. He's the only animal that I ever cremated. And as a matter of fact, while we're recording this, Friday the 13th just happened. And I actually am working on a memorial tattoo for him. And so I got a
Oh,
Friday the 13th for him, and I'm going to get like paw prints and stuff. And it itches like a mo because I just got it yesterday. But so my point to this is I don't necessarily agree with this. However, on top of this, I want to add, um, he may have been helping me in ways I didn't realize. And what I mean by that, there are ways that they can help you. So you can use their shedding in different rituals or spell work. They can help you in those ways. And what I mean by I didn't realize is because every time I would find a whisker here and there, I would collect it and put it in a box in my altar. So I didn't even realize what I was doing. Every time I would find a claw that he had shed, I had it in a box on my altar. And it just happened to be a box that I had. So I wasn't realizing what I was doing. Um, and
it's
some,
amazing because you don't realize how much of a companion they are until they're no longer with you.
oh my gosh, I
And that's
still,
the horrible part is that you don't realize, well, yeah, when I used to read my spell book, he would lay next to me. Duh.
hmm yeah, yeah. And it was like that. So, but that's what I'm saying. If you look up these things, don't think that you have to be so rigid in how you approach familiars. And another thing, I wanted to point out that I found. So it says familiars versus pets. So it says, does a familiar have to be a pet? No. Um, in in most cases, a pet isn't magically inclined. Modern day practitioners tend to confuse a pet's curiosity and unfaltering love for us as magical inclination. But most often, your dog is just a dog, your cat is just a cat, and they have no clue what a spell or magic is. Um, now, The other one here that oh, this is what I wanted to talk about real quick about the collecting. Some ways that you can bond with your animal familiar that I wanted to touch on just really quickly. And you can choose your familiar. I don't know if you've done this, if pets just happen to naturally, but some people, if they're seeking out a familiar, you can do ritual, you can do meditation, just kind of like you would for deity. Um, but you can let your familiar settle on your chest close enough to your body that you feel the rhythm of the breath. So you can try synchronizing breath. And that's where I said I didn't realize, because ever since he was a baby, he slept on my chest until he was almost a year and a half old, and he got too big and he just slept by my head. Experiment with healing energy. So if you do Reiki, you can do that. That's something that I did with him. Um, let your animal take you on a nature walk. Now, I'm not one to do cats on a leash, so that I never did. He would probably hate the hell out of me. Um, Trimmings or shed in your magic. And when he died and I got him cremated, I did ask for his whiskers and fur, so that I do have that. You can adorn your familiar with a protection charm. You can include your familiar in moon rituals, depending on, and like you said, snake, depending on what you have. You can also, I wanted to point out, familiars do not have to be animals. You can have plant familiars. I mean, if you're called to a specific plant, I was reading someone, rose was her plant familiar. Cannabis is a plant familiar for a lot of people because of the spiritual aspect and how they incorporate it.
You will know if you know the difference between your animal and your familiar once you get one. I had 3 sisters. They were kittens. We got them right after they were born. I brought 2 home because one was medium hair, one was short hair, and which one do we like? We found out we wanted both, and then I got one for my daughter, who found out my granddaughter was allergic, so I got that one back. So I had 3 sisters.
Oh, wow.
Polly was my ritual cat. They never tried to get out of the house except on ritual night. Polly would dart out. Now these were inside cats. I never let them out. I was panicked when they got out. She would come down the steps, our back steps, and sit and watch our ritual and then go right back in. It was the most uncanny thing in the world. The first time she got out by accident because everybody was going in and out. And I thought, oh, if I got to chase this cat down.
Oh my gosh.
Right on the sidewalk and watched our entire ritual. Somebody went in and she followed him in the house.
That is so funny.
Now,
well, and since he's passed, it's kind of, I can totally feel him around. And that's why I thought, to add on to this, I thought of getting like disturbed dirt at the bottom and have paw prints walking away, because it's that notion that he's not, I feel his energy around me all the time.
You feel him 24/7. Polly was my ritual. Now, if I was going to do a spell or if I was doing spell working in the house, Mischief, whose name was originally Pain in the Ass, but I had to change it. Yeah. My granddaughter went to
My
school.
father-in-law's cat was a little bastard, so it's okay.
Well, my granddaughter went in and
it was Fat Bastard. I'm sorry.
My granddaughter went in and told her teacher her damn mom had a cat called Badass. So I got the request to change the name. But Mischief, if I was working any spell work or working on my altar, she was right up my butt. She was like in my face, kind of like move, move.
Yeah.
Mute was the 3rd sister, and she never involved herself in any magical workings whatsoever. It just didn't interest her.
Yeah.
I could be in the same room with her, and if I was going over spell work or a ritual or something, she was like, eh. Now, Mischief would be right on my paper that I'm trying to write on, or right in the middle of my book that I was trying to read. And if I'm outside doing ritual, Polly is outside with ritual. We eventually got to the point, because she was tearing up the storm door, the screen, so bad, we just let her come out and sit. And she would literally sit in the yard, watch our ritual, And then
That's
someone would let her in and she'd go in the house. So it was
well,
bizarre.
and with Smudge, who we have now, the one that's just about a year and a half about, um, she was given to us by a friend, and it was a stray that she couldn't keep. And at the time, Miranda thought she was about 4 weeks old, and she was over at uh, Angela's. We were all there for Beltane ritual, and she was teeny tiny in Angela's tomato garden. We're all in the yard getting smudged before ritual, standing in a line. The little kitten is at the back of the line, and Miranda bends down and does a little waft, and then she goes, "Okay, now turn around." And the kitten turns around and listens. So we all named her Smudge right then and there. Well, at the time we thought it was a boy until I went to get it to get
Oh, yeah,
fixed.
we had that problem.
Yeah. And the vet was like, pulled up the tail, this is a girl. And I was like, honey, I'm sorry, still no boys. You have another girl. It's like,
Oh, poor Mike.
he was like, I'm never having a boy. It's like, not even the damn cats.
But, and it is, you can tell the difference because after I had my girls, when I finally had to have them, they get old, you have to put them down. I got another cat and I thought it was a girl. Everybody called her baby girl. She was a stray. It was in Baltimore. It was 2015. It was that January when it went to 45 below with the wind chill.
Ugh.
And I heard this crying at the door and I thought it was the kid upstairs crying and it was the cat trying to get in the house. So I let her in because I thought that's what it was. She was an orange tabby. I named her Butterscotch because that just fit. And then when I took her to the vet, to get her checked out, the vet said, well, an interesting thing happened on the way to the back exam room. She had a sex change. Took her 30 seconds. You now are a proud owner of a little boy. So we shortened the name to Scotch. So
We
he
had
kept
to
the name Scotch.
we had to reschedule and everything because it was more invasive. They were like, yeah, well, you're gonna, because this was last year during COVID, so they were way booked out. Oh, look, someone wants attention. Come here. Come here. We're talking about cats, so you can make an appearance if you want. But she's very fat. This is our other one. She's very obese. This is the 7-year-old. This is Nika. Say hi, Nika.
Oh my goodness.
She's gigantic. Now, she was alive. She's the only kitten of the litter that we have of a cat that what grew up with Lucky, my familiar. Now, when he died, we've had her. I saw her. I helped birth this one. But when he died, she was never really super cuddly or anything. I was the only one that he would be around. He was very skittish with everyone else, but he would cuddle with me. And when he died, she got really affectionate with me.
Oh, now
It was
she came into her own.
it was almost like he was passing the torch. It was really like I really felt, and it's almost like she's watching over me, kind of. I know to some people that probably sounds crazy, but because, but you know,
When
I
you're with animals, you will start, and when they say any animal can be a familiar, they're true. It can be, and it
yeah,
doesn't necessarily have to be a pet. Some
no,
people take their totem animal or their spirit animal or their spirit guide, whatever you want to call it, and they'll use that as quote unquote their familiar. If you
there
have a
are
kinship
differences.
with that, yeah, they'll call on it. Like mine is a bat. I call on the bats when I'm doing spells for
Oh yeah.
future work, seeing things I'm not seeing, that kind of thing, open my eyes so I can see kind of thing. Most of the time, though, you're familiar, you will find that they do things that are unusual for that type of animal, whatever animal it is. Cats are notoriously independent. What is it?
Yes.
Dogs prepare you for babies, cats prepare you for teenagers. True,
Yes.
true.
Now, to that point, I found something that was interesting. It says, which familiar aligns with you? So, this was kind of neat and different, just to give some people a few ideas. So the cat reminds us to connect with our highest self before casting spells. The rabbit will guide you through rebirth and resurrection. The bearded dragon brings good luck and fortune. Its ancient demeanor connects us with the past. The dog is a magical protector. Its loyalty safeguards one's practice. The snake guides us in our creative expression. It aids fertility and wisdom. The horse guides us in our confidence. It is a symbol of strength and courage. The mouse reminds us of resilience and the ability to adapt to any situation. And the toad is the bringer of rain and can help with your inner emotions. So if any of you guys out there, if any of those are your special animals that you absolutely love more than any other animal and they kind of stand out, pay attention. Like, that's the thing that we always say, pay attention to the signs, pay attention to the messages. Like, there are differences between familiars and animals, spirit animals and totem animals, but like Pam said, there's nothing wrong with calling on those and using them in workings at all, because I work with snake energy a lot, especially more recently.
I had
I had
snakes
snakes
growing up.
as a kid. I did too. I had snakes.
As
The only reason I don't have them now is because where I live, I'm not allowed. Like
well,
you said.
that was me. I got rid of mine when I got married the first time because he was like, it's either me or the snake. Should have kept the
Right.
snake.
Mhm.
Um, but it's what you're going to use them for. And if you have a, a pet at home and you feel like it's you're familiar, it probably is. There's things that they do that
You'll know. You'll
you'll
know.
know
It'll
because
be different.
I grew up with dogs and cats all my life. I mean, always had animals. I can
Right.
tell you I've only had a couple familiars that were my pets.
Yes.
You can tell the difference. They act differently. There's just, you just know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, when you have a tarot deck, you pick up that deck and you hold it in your
Yeah.
hand. This is mine.
Yes. Exactly. Or
Exactly.
that crystal
Right.
out of a
And
whole bin of crystals.
it's
That
just
one.
like you said, it's
It'll click.
there. It'll click
Yeah.
and you don't know why. Don't question it. And we don't pay attention. We are notorious for not. I mean, Goddess can send you the biggest message in the world and slap you with the 2x4 and you still ignore it.
Or a
So,
cast iron, and you'll still be like, huh?
and I can attest
We're
to
good
that
at,
because
yeah, we're good at
who
that.
just uses rebar on my head anymore? I think the 2x4 is ruined, but it's that kind of thing. We have, as much as we are into information and into our phones and into learning, we have no idea what's going around on us
Mm-mm.
naturally.
Yeah.
You looked outside, growing up, we used to be able to look at the trees and tell if it was going to rain or not by the way the leaves on the
Yeah.
trees blew. Okay, that sounds silly, but it was true because the air is thicker, it's heavier because it's got the moisture in it. It will turn a tree leaf backwards.
And people think that I'm nuts whenever I say that I can smell when it's about to rain.
Yes, you can smell it. There's a
I'm
smell to
like, I'm like, you can't smell when it's about to rain? Is that a Florida thing or is that a
that is growing up back home. We could smell. You'd see us sniffing like
you
wild
wouldn't
animals.
believe how many people were like, "What?" And I was like, "Everybody can't do that?" I'm like, "It's a very distinct smell."
And that's it. A lot of people
But I
don't
love it.
pay
It's not like
attention.
it's not like a gross smell. I love the smell of like
No, it's
rain.
it's a fresh smell. It's
Yeah.
clean.
But it's like before it's about to start raining, not the
Just
after smell.
before. No.
It's so awesome because it's like you can step outside and you're like, "Ooh, it's about to rain." Like it
Oh,
makes you feel like
it's like doing that now. I'm looking out my window. It's raining here now. But your familiar can be anything
it.
that you have a connection with. And people get really, it's kind of like support animals. We were joking about the support animals. People have an emu. The air, excuse me, the airlines finally cut down on it and said, dog, that's it. Especially after the gerbil got loosed. I mean, I just cannot imagine a gerbil loose on an airplane.
And
Yep.
also, oh my God, could you imagine? It'd be like the wave on the airplane. Everybody goes, ah, there's a turtle.
I could
Look,
just see these little
you
ladies
got
trying to
me.
crawl into the overhead containers and stuff,
Look,
Okay.
you got me. I tried to get you when you were drinking.
Yes.
Really quickly, I wanted to mention this. This is not necessarily about familiars. I found this book in a thrift store. People don't know what they're getting rid of sometimes. Cat spells. I have seen it on the interweb. Cat Spells by Claire Namad, Nahmad, and it has really cool stuff. It says a unique collection of ancient cat lore and magic spells for healing, good luck, love, and enchantment. And like I opened it up randomly, and it has stuff like spell for the ancient magical art of naming. So it has charm to mend broken bones. It has different things like here, like Hecate, Ishtar, Merlin, all these different deities. So it's really neat. And the other thing I wanted to mention, there's a podcast called, uh, oh my gosh, I just forgot the name of it. It'll come back to me. But it's two witches. One is Catholic, and one is pagan. Well, the Catholic doesn't call herself a witch, but and the pagan, they're both college professors. They live in North Carolina. Why can I not remember? Oh, psychic teachers, psychic teachers. They've been around forever. They're on all the podcast platforms. And I love their show because they play off of each other. But the pagan Deb, she had an episode. She talks about her familiar that passed several years ago, Merlin, and he was this big, long-haired, fluffy cat. He used to walk on the beach with her without a leash and just used to walk. And I think he died very old age. And she would just tell stories. Like, if you ever get a chance to listen to their show, it's fun. They talk about the Catholic. She does a lot of crystals. The pagan does tarot reading. It's a really, really good show, but she always talks about her familiar Merlin, and she talks about how she can feel him, and she goes into about how familiars are and how you'll feel that difference. And like I said, I've had animals my entire life. I've had snakes, I've had birds, I've had dogs, I've had you name it. But that one, and I've been so close to all my animals, but that one cat, you will know a
Well,
difference.
that was what was so different with me. I had the three sisters, but only two of them actually,
Hmm.
Polly coming out and sitting down and watching our ritual and then going back in the house and not making any attempt to leave the yard was
Yeah, that's so neat.
weird.
That's so cool, though.
And it was funny because my boyfriend was like, "Do you want me to try and grab her?" And I'm like, "Oh, let's see what she does. Let's just see." And she sat there, um, and
Yeah,
she just literally watched the whole ritual. And then I think it was Margie was going in, and as she went in, she just followed up, walked between her legs and went right in the house. And it was like, what the
that's
hell? You
that's
know,
really. But
it,
yeah,
it was bizarre.
it is really bizarre. But like I said, don't think that you just have to. We get so hung up on the black cats, and then we get so hung up on just the animals. But like I said, there's plant familiars. There's even crystal familiars. There's all sorts
It's
of
it's the
things.
energy that you're attaching to. So everything has energy. So my besom here could be a familiar. It
Mhm.
is a cinnamon broom and it's full of energy.
Yeah.
So
Because
don't
because
regulate
what is
yourself.
it's made out of cinnamon.
Yes, this is
So
100% cinnamon.
cinnamon could be the familiar because what you're looking at when it comes to like plant familiars is you're looking at the properties and the characteristics and the energy that you're
Of
using.
that specific plant, which this is the
Exactly.
cinnamon broom. It's here because it smells good.
Exactly. I love
I ain't
those.
gonna lie to you, it
I
smells
wish I
good.
could get those like I don't get those year round.
The cinnamon,
Yeah, not
I
here.
had that one for about 10 years,
It
15
still
years,
oh, well, I
and it
mean
still
like
smells.
strong.
Yeah.
I need that strong smell.
Yeah, it still has it. All you have to do is take it, wet it, or shake it, or wipe it
Oh.
down, because it's just like cedar. When you take off that layer of dirt and dust that it collects, it just opens it back up again. That's why if you have a cedar closet or you have cedar balls in your closet, every so often you're supposed to take them and rub them together. It
Mine's
rubs the
right
crap
over
off of them
there.
so they smell again.
Okay, I'm gonna dump water on mine as soon as we get. I
You
got
can
mine set.
just a little bit. I mean, this has still got a good scent to it, and I've always had it out and open because I decorate it, and it's got my. Actually, there's a wand in here, a
That's
crystal.
what I was gonna say. Also, tree familiars. Think about that when you're doing your when you're thinking about like wand making and things like that. Setting your
Yeah,
intention.
we're still on for finding the elderberries, right? We're going
Yeah.
elderberry shopping next weekend, maybe.
Yes. Yes. Well.
Um,
Yes.
but anything can be your familiar, and don't rush to go get one because it
No.
comes to you. You don't go to it.
Yeah.
So many
Yeah.
people run out and they'll buy a black cat, and it's like you don't even know. Don't go for it.
And like I said, I you can do things like ritual and meditation and things to find your familiar, but that's really, in my opinion, more about opening your mind and your awareness, not so much to say, "Hey, find me a black cat," and it to appear in front of your doorstep. You know what I mean?
No,
It's
it's
to
to
open
get
your
you in there.
awareness
It's to let the
so that you
universe know
can.
you're looking for something.
Right, and so that you can see those signs that are hitting you upside the head with the cast iron.
Yeah,
So,
so I mean, and it's true. If you, that's what the whole thing about a small ritual. If you're looking for something or if you need something, what you're asking for is give me a sign, let me know. You might do one for a familiar, excuse me, and someone come up with a puppy,
right?
and that's supposed to be your familiar,
Yep. You
but
might think
you would never have
you
thought
might
about it.
think you want like a cool tarantula, and you might get that gerbil.
Yeah, let's. Ooh, yeah. But
Look,
so many
Mike
people.
is scared of Mike is scared of spiders, and the dude wants a pet tarantula. Figure that one out.
I had tarantulas, believe it or not. I had a tarantula pet. It was unusual to say the least. And it wasn't, I always felt like it was going to be creepy with it, just like a snake. You think a snake's going to be slimy because
Yeah,
that's where you're mentally, and none of mine were. Mine were all lovey and cuddly and
yeah.
soft and, ooh, you
I
know,
kind of want a pet rat. I'm not gonna lie. They're very. The people that I have known that have had pet rats and that what I have read apparently are very intelligent, very affectionate, and
extremely
actually
intelligent.
extremely clean. Believe it or not.
Yes, they are. We just have that mental image of mice and rats from horror stories.
And infestations and stuff, but that's not a pet
No,
situation.
my kids had mice as pets. They had gerbils, they had hamsters, they had rabbits, we had snakes and whatever they brought home. The only thing I had they didn't have was I had a ferret. They didn't have one.
Oh,
But it's the energy you're looking for, and I think that's when you start. If you ask to find your familiar,
mhm.
now the universe is out there looking for that energy match. So you
Exactly.
put it out there. So put it out there. Definitely put it out there. Say, this is what I'm looking for. Do the spell work, do the ritual for it. But then you have to keep your eyes open,
Yes.
because we tend to do that and put the blinders back on. And it's like, well, wait a minute. You're never going to see anything.
Right.
If you just put it out there and totally, the goddess is giving you 400 different options and you're like, I didn't see nothing.
And
Um,
that's with anything. That's with anything.
every time you do a spell, this is why when we first start, back when I first started, you were given a book in your book of shadows. You were given a section in there, and every time you did a spell, you were write down. Now, our spell sheets were very intricate when I first started. It wanted to know the day, the time, the weather, how long
Hmm.
it took you to do it, the whole thing. I mean, and
I've
then the next page was for the next month. You
Yeah.
clocked it. Anything that happened that could be slightly, even just remotely attached to it. And you did all this work. So you were constantly, that was constantly on your brain. Okay, I asked for a familiar. Oh, there's a bird out there. Is that my familiar? That kind of thing. You
Right.
got to where every day you were looking for it. So you were actively open and
Mhm.
working on it. We tend to do spells, and a lot of young witches, and I think it's the environment. We're so used to instantaneous.
Right.
We used to have to go do research papers at the library because that's where the books were. Now you sit on your computer and you.
Well, even I did that because growing up, I mean, we didn't have a computer. I remember in elementary school, I did a book report on a freaking typewriter. I
Right.
mean,
And that's what I'm saying. But nowadays, we're so used to doing this and this that
mm,
we have forgotten that it takes a month,
work.
and it takes work, and it takes appreciation, and it takes that few minutes to really concentrate. What is it you're really going for?
And sometimes it takes time. It's not like you said, it's not always gonna be a day, a week. It may not even be a year. Sometimes it might be a year and a half, 2 years. It might be 5 years.
It'll
It's
happen
gonna
when it's
come
ready
to
to happen.
exactly because
Only then.
you may not be ready at a place in your life where you're ready to
Well,
receive
like right
whatever.
now, where I live, I cannot have any animals at all.
Right.
They have this big list that they don't want. Well, when I moved in, I didn't have any because I was living in another apartment that didn't allow animals. So,
Mhm.
I'm okay with that.
Right.
But I'm going to live here for another year, so that's 3 years without quote unquote familiar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it bad? No. Would I like to have one? Yeah, but now is not the right time.
Right.
So you have to be in a place where not only will you take that, but you have to be able to accept that animal and have the time to take care of it, the money to take care of it, because let's face it, they're expensive.
Oh yeah.
Doctor, vet bills when they get sick, whatever, you've got to take care of them, their family. So there's a lot more involved. So people think that everybody is instantaneous now because we've gotten that way with, instant information. Most spells take a month to work. You work it from full moon to full moon, dark moon to dark moon, depending on what you're doing. It
Right.
is that whole cycle that you have to go through, and people don't understand that. Oh, well, I did a spell yesterday. Why isn't it working today? Because it takes a freaking month. Um, and
If
that's
you
how
plant
most
a
spells
seed,
are.
it's not in full bloom the next day.
Yeah, what's going on, So you've got to take the time. You've got to look. You also have to look at the practicalities of you having an animal. A dog for me would never, ever work anymore because I work late. I am used to being very independent. I come and go. I go away for the weekends. I'll be down your place this weekend coming up. Yes, Lady Angela and I are going to go over the
Woohoo.
Cavaliers. So that's
Yeah.
just gonna, yeah, that's proving to be quite wonderful. But again, I'm not in a place where if it's going to be a dog, that I can do it
Right.
because I don't have a yard where it's fenced. My yard's not fenced. I can't let him out back. And you think I'm going to get my happy butt up and walk a dog? Y'all got another whole thought coming here.
You don't need him
I
messing
have
up the
never
fairy
walked a
lights.
dog.
Right.
I don't walk dogs. I open the back door and they
We
go out
don't
in the
need him
backyard.
we don't need a dog messing up the fairy lights or the tiki torches out there.
That's right. So, I mean, people are just like, do you have to have a familiar? No. Can you have a substitute? You sure as heck can. A nice little, there is nothing wrong with the energy in this. There is nothing wrong with the energy in a stuffed animal.
It's all about the intention.
It's the intent. And this guy is absolutely adorable. This was a gift. Someone said, I know you can't have your familiar, so this was given to me as a gift. So it kind of is like a familiar. I think it's adorable.
It is adorable. I love it.
He just like prances around, looks very sassy. But you can have anything, and I really people don't stop to think. If you're a witch, you're supposed to what? You're supposed to be who you are.
Right.
And if
No
you're not
rule.
into that, then you don't have to do it. People say to me, I don't know how you can be a witch. You don't wear a lot of black.
I do sometimes because it's slimming, but I also have a lot of tie dye.
Oh, look at me. I wear what? Pink.
I
My
have a
favorite
lot of
color is
tie-dye.
freaking pink.
Yeah,
Okay?
I have a lot
So
of tie-dye.
how can you be a witch if you like pink?
Right.
I wear makeup. Yes, witches wear makeup. It's people have got to get rid of those preconceived ideas. And with familiars, you have that preconceived black cat's going to walk with you. No.
Don't get
It
me
doesn't
wrong. I love a black cat. And the black
Oh,
cats that I have had, unfortunately, have either ran off and never to come back, or well, actually, the only black cats I've had that has happened with all of them, I've only had two. But so, yeah, I've never been able to have a black cat
it's
at
whatever
age,
it
but,
is. And
right.
people get all these preconceived ideas that it's got to be this, it's got to be that. It ain't got to be anything. It's got to be what
Yeah,
you
and I think
want.
a lot of that too is like with social media and the trendy witch, we got to throw all of that out the window. And we've talked about that before. So just remember, and I know you have to go, but really quickly, I just wanted to say thank you. I know we had a little bit of a break last week. We had a rerun with Cloud, our third episode. Make sure you check him out.
Oh my gosh, he is like, didn't he just do another album?
He is like on fire. He's getting out there.
He
We've
just did
mentioned
Witch
before.
Fest.
Yeah, he did Witch Fest in New York, y'all. He is amazing. I haven't been on Facebook as much because Mike has been regressing a bit, you guys. I mean, he's okay, but he's not doing super great. He's losing his balance a lot, and I have been down for the count because my back is killing me, and I had an MRI and I have some bulging disc nerve problems, so I'm getting injections at the end of the month, but I'm here. I'm good. So I'm sorry we haven't been doing the keyword of the week. I'm going to get, we had two people enter. So I'm going to do the spinny wheel. And then on next week's show, if you guys would hold tight just a little bit longer, I will announce you guys next week. I have not had a chance to do that yet. It has been really, really crazy for me. So I do apologize. But this
Some
week's
cops.
keyword is going to be familiar. So please email your keyword familiar to teatimemc@gmail.com. That's teathyme@gmail.com. And don't forget to go to our Facebook page with Tea Time with Mother and Crone, which is the same name for our YouTube channel. You can always watch us live whenever we record, and then we always stream on Sundays, usually on Facebook.
Since we're doing familiars, if you want to show off your familiar, because we know we all like to show off our familiars.
Yes,
Yes, I've showed mine off right here. So if anybody has a picture of their familiar that they just have to brag about, because we do, put it on our Facebook and give
I
us the
will
name.
post mine. Yes, I
His
will
or
post.
her name, please, because that's how we address our familiars is by their name.
Yes, I
Not,
will
hey, you
definitely.
ugly dog. We
I,
just we had an ugly dog one time, and I used to call him ugly dog, and he answered to it.
is it weird that I also, in addition to a rat, I kind of also want a hairless cat? Is that bad?
I've had one. I actually used to babysit them for a friend.
Really?
Yes,
They look so grumpy and angry, but I kind of feel like
they're
I just
not. They're actually more affectionate than a regular cat. You have to be very, very gentle with their skin,
oh, I know, yeah.
and they stay cold. So we
I would
had
have them in
pads.
like all the sweaters. Like I would have so much fun with all the sweaters.
Well, we had heating pads for them to sleep on. If they didn't get in the sun, like if it was a cloudy day and I was watching them, we would put the heating pads down and put a blanket over top of them, and they would, do their little fluffing and lay on the
This
heating pad. Yep.
see, and I get cold easily anyway, so I feel like that would be perfect. So okay.
They're really adorable, and they're extremely affectionate, and they're very, very smart. That was the problem. They could get out of the room.
Ugh.
Uh, they figured out how to time the door, how
I
quickly I
feel
would close the door.
I feel like a hairless cat is also my spirit animal because if you ever look at them without a sweater on, they're all like frumpy and grumpy looking. I feel like that's like my
They're actually, it's kind of like the cats with the smashed face look grumpy too.
Those are Mike's favorite. He
With the,
wants one so bad. Those Persian cats, because they look like so. He's like, I just love them. I want one.
they have one that was on Facebook. He's got whiskers that came out like this, and he's smashed faced, and he looks so grumpy. And
They
they said
just
he's the
look
most
so pissed
affectionate cat.
off. They just look so pissed off all the time. It's so funny.
But it's people have to understand. Even back in the day, witches weren't. We didn't walk around, with witch written across our forehead. Um, and people didn't know you were witches. Even today, a lot of people don't claim the witch title, even though
Right.
they do all of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, growing up, my family from Appalachia, I mean, they know, you heard us. We know all the herbal stuff. We know all this stuff, and we grew up with it. So
Well, even like if you don't use the name, or the label, and a lot of people don't like the labels, and that's perfectly fine. But dude, if you read tarot and oracles and crystals and you're doing all the same things, I mean, come on. We're going to the same party, okay? Let's just be clear.
And it's well, a lot of it too is it is society. Now it's safer to come out than ever before, but
Oh, yeah.
it's still come out on your own, do
Yeah.
your thing. Don't let anybody force you into a situation where you're uncomfortable. And the same is with the familiar. If you don't need one, can't afford one, just can't do it, then don't. You can
Just
get
like
a
with
cute
the
little
magical,
statue. You can get a
just
little
like
stuffed animal.
just like we and pet deposits in some places add $100, $200 to your rent. Oh my gosh.
It's ridiculous.
Just like with magical tools, you do not have to have athames and bells and all the whistles. Just, it's
Do what
okay.
we do, thrift.
Yes.
We're going to have one on that because I actually guess where I was today. I was at Goodwill today. We uh, we stopped in. A friend of ours had a baby, and they asked for us gently used baby clothes. So since my roommate and I have no children, obviously at our age, um,
Mhm.
we went out and picked up a few, little pieces. And of course, while I'm in there, I had to
Of course.
shop. That is my favorite shopping place in the entire world. I
Mhm.
love thrifting. I just absolutely, I'm worse than any kid in a candy store
I
when it
have a sticker on the back of my car that says Thrift Life. Like, when they came out with Mud Life and all that? Yeah, mine says
yeah,
Thrift
because there's just people aren't throwing things away; they're cleaning their stuff out.
I got a whole thing for Haley that was a treasure box of crystal, like amethyst and clear quartz and rose quartz with like description cards and everything. Some people don't realize it was like just people don't realize what they're getting rid of.
A lot of people don't. I have gotten pestles and mortars at Goodwill. I've gotten Harry Potter ones. I've gotten, goodness gracious, just God.
Sensors, those
You can get those
like
sensors. You can get candle holders out the wazoo if
I
you need candle holders.
know.
Girl, I would never buy candle
Oh
holders
my
at
gosh,
Goodwill.
I have seen some like gothic looking old Victorian candle holders, and I'm just like, oh, I'm like
I
in
know. It's like I
on
need
cloud
an
nine.
addition on my house for the cool stuff I see. So
Oh,
my roommate, she's really good about like pulling me. As small as she is, she drags me. Says, "No, you don't need that. You don't need that." But it's like,
uh,
"Ooh, look, no, look, no." I need to be supervised in a Goodwill or thrift store because I am terrible. But it's not people throwing stuff away, it's people getting rid of their excess. And
yeah, yeah.
rather than go out and making more clothes, I can go there and get their excess that they're no longer wearing. I go through my wardrobe, the stuff I'm no longer wearing, because you get tired of wearing it after a while.
Oh
So
yeah.
you put it in a pile, and then I ship that, and then I go get another
Believe it or not, there's a lot of stuff you find still with tags on. A lot.
90%.
Yeah.
Almost everything I buy usually has a tag on it. And it's
That's
just,
for that's a good segue maybe for a sneak peek of our next week's show, but you guys will just have to tune in and find out, won't you?
yes. and see what we've actually purchased. We'll have to bring on some of our good buys. Thrifting is the easiest way to get stuff you want. It really
Yep.
is. And when we do that segment, I can't wait because there is so much with thrifting. It is the most awesome thing in the world.
It
And it
really.
used to be people were like, ooh, bought that at Goodwill. Now it's like, ooh, you got that at Goodwill?
Hmm.
So everything's coming full circle again. So now it's cool to go thrifting.
Yeah.
And I'm telling
I
you,
get- I know. I
girl,
can't wait for that
we hit
episode.
3 thrift stores today on our run.
Dang
Yeah,
girls.
girl, we went. Well, first we went to look for some of the clothes, and then we stopped at this one place, and they had a lot of stuff, but the clothes were cheap. The other stuff was a little pricey, and that's you'll learn after you do it a while.
Right.
Then we went to strictly the baby store that just had all baby stuff. We got that, and then we went to Goodwill because I said, "Oh, we just got to stop and look." And
Right.
I came back with a huge bag of clothes.
Yeah, that's going to be a good episode. And we'll also cover some ways that you can do some witching on a budget. So you'll have to tune in for that.
Definitely show
And
you witching on a budget because I raised my kids and I was trying to be a witch. You do not spend $50 on a wand.
no,
You know, that's
you
a
can. I mean, whatever floats your boat, but you don't have to. Let's say that.
right. And when I have my students, we go through the familiar talk because some of my students feel like they got to go out and buy an animal and they're no more ready to have an animal than a child. So it's like,
Oh,
no, 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 don't do that, please.
yeah. Start with plants,
Commitment
please.
for at least 15 years if you purchase an animal.
Right.
It's not a 5-minute commitment. It's not a year commitment. It is 15 years or more.
Yeah.
Think about that. Before you get a familiar, most animals live approximately 15 years. Big dogs are 12, small dogs are 25. Cats, depending upon the cat's life, it can be anywhere from 10 to 20 years.
Right. Yeah.
So
Well, we
if
had
you,
a cat, Elvira, that she lived to be 21.
yeah. So, and even a hamster or gerbil is longer than a year commitment.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So if you're looking at a familiar, please be very aware of that commitment time.
Oh yes,
That's
absolutely.
all you have is that time. So before you put yourself in a bind for the next 15 years,
Hmm.
really consider if that's what you want to do. And I mean that for not just for your familiar, but any pet. A pet is
Absolutely.
not something you get on a whim. You
No.
have to be really prepared. It's like having a child. You try not to do that on a whim. It happens.
And like we said, there's differences between pets and familiars. So, and we're just talking about pets. A familiar is a whole nother level. So, especially if you're new at the path, just make sure you always do your research, as we always say. But again, the keyword is familiar. The email is teatimemc@gmail.com. That's teatyhymemc@gmail.com. So please make sure you email for a chance to win some tea time merch.
Yeah, get those
And
in. And
please,
also send us pictures of your familiars. We'd love to see them. And if it's not a familiar and it's only your pet, you can send them in too.
yes, send them in too. And thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you as always. And if you have any ideas or topics that you want us to discuss, any herbs that you want us to discuss, hit us up either by email or message us on our Facebook page. And you guys
Okay.
have a wonderful week.
You guys have a great week and we'll see you next week. Have a good one, guys.
Blessed be.
Blessed be.